I have never been someone who doubted love easily. My fiancée, Emma, was the woman of my dreams. Smart, beautiful, and social. She had an infectious laugh that could light up a room and a sharp mind that always challenged me. We had planned a future together, a beautiful home, a wedding already in the works, and the vision of a happy life together. I could see it all so clearly, until the cracks in our perfect illusion began to show. Emma had a close-knit group of girlfriends and often hosted girls' nights. It was their thing: wine, movies, and fun. I had never thought twice about it. Why would I? We trusted each other. Yet lately, something felt different. It started small. Her phone was always face down. Whenever she received a message, she would swipe it away faster than I could blink. When I asked why, she laughed and said, "You don't need to see everything, you nosy ape." Nothing to worry about, right? Still, something kept nagging at me. Her behavior changed. First, subtly. A distant look, short responses, a distracted smile when I pulled her into my arms. Then, more obviously, less interest in spending time together, more nights out with her friends, working late more often. When I suggested tagging along on one of her girls' nights, just as a driver, to pick her up, she wrinkled her nose. "It's really just our thing, babe. You'd be bored to death." Maybe she was right, but then why did I feel a sharp unease in my chest? The night that changed everything. On a Friday evening, Emma stood in front of the mirror doing her hair, a tight black dress hugging her body. Her scent, my favorite perfume, the one she usually only wore for special occasions, lingered heavily in the air. "Girls' night?" I asked, leaning against the doorway. She nodded, her eyes darting away in the mirror. "Yeah, just a relaxed evening." I studied her. Too perfectly made up, too beautifully dressed for just a night of wine and Netflix. "Wouldn't you rather stay home?" I tried. "I could cook something nice. We could watch a movie together." She turned and gave me a quick kiss. "You're sweet, but we've already planned this. Why don't you do something fun with your friends?" I muttered something in agreement, but my mind was elsewhere. This wasn't the first time she had reacted like this. She was almost pushing me away. A little later, I stood by the window and watched as she got into her car. The engine purred, and the red taillights disappeared into the night. A suffocating feeling gripped me. Something wasn't right. And deep down, I knew, tonight, I was going to find out why. The night was dull. I had gone out with a couple of friends, but the conversation felt forced, and I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had been gnawing at me since Emma left. The laughter and chatter around me faded into the background as my mind kept drifting back to her. I checked my phone. No messages from her. Not even the usual "made it safe" text. Something inside me made the decision before I even realized it. I was going home early. When I arrived at our apartment, something felt off immediately. The hallway was unusually quiet, but from behind our door, I heard muffled voices, laughter, music. Not just women's voices. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. Emma had been clear, just a girls' night, but the deep, rumbling voices mixing with high-pitched giggles told a different story. My pulse quickened. Had she lied? I pushed the door open. The scene before me sent a surge of cold fury through my veins. The lights were dimmed, casting a warm glow over the living room. Half-empty wine glasses cluttered the coffee table, and the air smelled of alcohol and perfume. And then I saw them. Men scattered among the women, lounging too comfortably on the couch, leaning in too close, their eyes filled with the kind of interest that made my stomach turn. And then there was Emma. She was sitting between two men, her body angled toward one of them. Her expression, one of laughter and ease, froze the moment she saw me. Her entire body went rigid, her smile vanishing, as if someone had yanked it away. The room went silent. The women exchanged nervous glances. Some of the men shifted uncomfortably, their gazes dropping as if they suddenly realized they were part of something they shouldn't be. And then, one man didn't get the memo. A cocky, self-assured guy with tousled hair and a half-finished beer in his hand leaned back on the couch, completely unfazed. His eyes lazily flicked over to me before landing on Emma again. With a smirk, he slurred, "So this is the guy? Thought you said he wouldn't be home, babe." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I clenched my fists, my breathing heavy, as Emma shot up from the couch, her face drained of color. She opened her mouth to speak, but there was nothing she could say that would undo what I had just seen. A wave of rage, pain, and adrenaline surged through my veins, making my hands tremble at my sides. The room was so eerily silent, I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. The weight of betrayal pressed down on my chest, making it hard to breathe. I stared at Emma, who stood frozen in place, her wide eyes darting between me and the man who had just called her babe, the man who had, with a single careless slip, shattered any illusion that this was just a harmless girls' night. "Someone better start talking," I said, my voice cold and steady, despite the fire raging inside me. Emma took a shaky step forward, her hands raised as if she were pleading for understanding. "Babe, you're overreacting," she said, her voice soft, cautious. "It's not what it looks like." I let out a humorless laugh. Not what it looks like. The classic excuse. "So what exactly am I looking at?" I asked, gesturing to the wine glasses, the dim lights, the men who looked like they had just walked into the wrong party, the way she was leaning into him, the way he knew my name before I even introduced myself. She hesitated. That half a second of silence told me everything I needed to know. One of her friends, Mia, stood up from the couch, flipping her hair over her shoulder with an exaggerated sigh. "Come on, you're making this a bigger deal than it is," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's just a little fun. Loosen up." Loosen up. The sheer audacity made my blood boil. How long had this been going on? Was I the only one in the room who didn't know the truth? I turned back to Emma, my jaw clenched. "Tell me the truth," I demanded. "How long has this been going on?" Emma shook her head quickly, too quickly. "Nothing is going on," she insisted. "We just invited some friends over, that's all. No big deal." I wanted so badly to believe her. I wanted her to look me in the eyes and give me a reason to push the growing doubt away. But then, one of the guys made a mistake. "Dude, relax," the cocky one from earlier slurred, taking a swig of his beer. "She told us you were cool with this." The room froze. Emma's face went pale. Mia's eyes widened for just a fraction of a second before she turned her head away. And that was it. That was all the proof I needed. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. A pit opened in my stomach as realization settled in like a knife twisting in my gut. This wasn't the first time. She had lied. Again and again. To my face. To herself. And everyone in this room had known about it. Everyone except me. I swallowed the lump in my throat, my vision blurring with a toxic mix of anger and heartbreak. "So you've been lying to me this whole time?" I asked, my voice lower now, deadened by the weight of betrayal. Emma panicked. She rushed toward me, reaching for my arm. No, it's not like that. Baby, please." I stepped back. The way she flinched confirmed everything. "Don't," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Just let me explain," she begged. "It's not what you think. It was just a distraction. I never meant to hurt you." I stared at her, numb. A distraction from what? She didn't answer, because she knew there was no excuse. Mia huffed, crossing her arms. "Oh my God, just let her explain," she said, exasperated, like I was the unreasonable one here. I turned to look at everyone in the room, one by one. The guilty stares, the awkward shifting, the uncomfortable silence. They had all known. They had all watched me walk into this trap blind. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay in control. "I'm done," I said. Emma's breath hitched. "Wait, what?" "I'm leaving," I said. "No." She grabbed my wrist now, desperate. "Don't just walk away. We need to talk about this." But there was nothing left to talk about. I pulled free from her grip, my hands shaking from the storm raging inside me. "You already made your choice, Emma." Her lips trembled, her eyes filling with tears. "Please don't do this." But I already had. I turned and walked out the door, leaving behind the perfect illusion that had just come crashing down. The drive to my best friend Daniel's apartment was a blur. My mind replayed the scene at the apartment over and over again. Emma's frozen expression, the guilty silence in the room, the careless way that guy had called her babe. I should have seen it earlier. I should have known. When I arrived, Daniel took one look at me and knew something was wrong. He didn't ask questions right away, just handed me a beer and let me sit in silence. The weight in my chest didn't lessen, but at least I didn't feel like I was suffocating. After a while, I finally told him everything. How I had walked in on Emma's girls' night and how it was anything but. How she had lied to my face. How her friends had enabled it. How I had been played for a fool. Daniel didn't say "I told you so." even though he had never really trusted her. He just let me vent, and when I was done, he asked, "What now?" That was the question, wasn't it? What now? I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I knew one thing. I needed the truth. Uncovering the double life. The next morning, after a restless night of staring at the ceiling, I made a decision. No more doubts. No more questions. I wanted to know everything. Emma had lied to me for who knows how long, but if she had gotten away with this for so long, there had to be more. I started with her social media. Scrolling through her posts, everything looked normal, but I noticed little things. Nights out she hadn't told me about. Photos where she conveniently cropped someone out. Comments from men I didn't recognize. Then I remembered. Her laptop. Emma was careless sometimes, and she always left it at home when she went out. I still knew the password. I shouldn't have felt guilty opening it. She sure as hell didn't feel guilty betraying me. And what I found shattered any last shred of doubt. Messages, emails, photos. Not just one guy. Multiple. Months of conversations, of secret meetups, of her laughing about how her fiancé would never find out. I felt physically sick. The worst part? There were things in those messages that made me realize I never really knew Emma. She had a side of her I had never seen, a version of herself she kept hidden from me, cold, manipulative, deceitful. She had made a fool of me, and everyone in that apartment had known. Everyone except me. Turning anger into action. The rage was blinding at first. I wanted to scream, to break something, but then it turned into something sharper, colder. She didn't deserve my anger. She deserved consequences. I wouldn't just leave. I would make sure she knew exactly what she had destroyed. Emma had a work trip scheduled that weekend. I had 2 days to erase myself from her life. While she was away, I went back to our apartment. Methodically, without emotion, I packed my things. I took only what was mine. My clothes, my laptop, my documents. I left everything we had shared. The furniture, the decorations, the life we had built together. And on the kitchen table, I left a letter. Not a letter filled with rage. Not a plea for an explanation. Just the facts. I detailed everything I knew. The conversations, the lies, the betrayals, how I had found out, how long she had been deceiving me, and how she had underestimated me. At the bottom, I placed my engagement ring, and one last line. I hope it was worth it, but I wasn't done. Before leaving, I made sure our mutual friends knew the truth. I forwarded screenshots of her messages to those who had been oblivious, those who still believed in the perfect couple illusion. And then, with a final look at the apartment that had once been filled with love, I walked out, never looking back. The first missed call came the morning after she returned home, then another and another. Emma's name kept flashing on my screen, each call more desperate than the last. Then came the messages. "Where are you? We need to talk. Please just let me explain." I didn't answer, because there was nothing left to say. Watching her world crumble. For days, the messages kept coming. First, she played the guilt card, telling me she had made a mistake, that she had been lost, and didn't realize what she had until it was gone. When I didn't respond, the messages turned angry. "You're being childish. You should have talked to me instead of running away. I never meant to hurt you." And then, the reality of her choices started sinking in. She had built her entire life around a lie, and now, piece by piece, that life was falling apart. The friends who had once laughed with her, stood by her, covered for her, started distancing themselves. I made sure of that. The truth spread fast. Screenshots of her conversations, proof of her deception. People saw her for who she really was. The invitations to brunches and parties stopped. The messages in her group chats went unanswered. She wasn't just losing me. She was losing everything. The last message. Days turned into weeks. One evening, as I sat outside my new apartment, breathing in the fresh air of my new life, my phone buzzed one last time. "Emma." I hesitated before opening it. "I know you probably hate me, and I deserve it. But please, can we talk? Just once. Just to see if there's any way we can fix this. I miss you. I still love you." I stared at the message for a long time, and then finally, I replied, "I'm not the man you used to know, and you were never the woman you claimed to be." I hit send, and that was it. A new beginning. I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel broken. I felt free. I had escaped the illusion, the lies, the betrayal, and now I was rebuilding. Trust is a fragile thing, and I had learned the hard way that once it's shattered, it can never truly be the same. But as I watched the sun set, a small part of me wondered, would our paths ever cross again? And if they did, would I ever be able to forget? The end, or maybe just the beginning.